Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the Resource Works Society. Welcome back to the show, Stewart.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
We're doing great. I understand you've got an interesting trip planned. Can you tell us a little bit about your adventures in India?
That's right. I'm going down to be a speaker at the Global Natural Resources Conclave taking place in New Delhi in the first week of April. And it's going to be quite a gathering for people mainly in mining to talk about innovation and the Canadian way of doing things, which is really without parallel. Nobody is better at doing mining across the board than Canadians are. So it's really the Canadian story that I'm going to be bringing to India.
Have you been invited by anybody important?
Well, there's a group there. It's supported by the High Commission of Canada in India and also a group called Network 18, which runs some brands we're familiar with, the CNN franchise in India and MSNBC. So their shows are seen by audiences that would be some multiple of the whole population of Canada. So I know that our word will be getting out to a lot of people.
Why are they so interested in Canadian mining?
Well, the number one thing is that really no one in the world, no country in the world across the board is better than Canada in terms of doing mining. It's partly because we've had a lot of mining in our country for a long time, very rich storehouse of minerals and metals, but also because we've had, academically speaking, some of the top universities. 3 of the top 10 mining universities in the world are Canadian ones, including UBC. And we've also got a long history as a financial center. Vancouver is where the capital is raised. Toronto is a big part of that too. And it's become, I think, a widely known fact that Canadian leadership in this field is driving the application and development of technology, and then also the social side of it, because as consciousness of the environmental picture has grown over the years, we've become leaders in that as well, protecting water, protecting the land, and making sure that you're doing things sustainably for the long term.
Well, I know in Chile, the Pascua Lama mining complex trying to get gold out, basically after Barrick had spent something like $8 billion, it was shut down because the locals were concerned about their water supply.
Well, that's right. And, what the mining industry knows as CSR, corporate social responsibility, others call it social license or, these different ways that you have to engage with the people who are affected, who live in these areas. It's Canadians, a Canadian professor in Vancouver who have developed some of these ideas like social license. That term was coined to deal with the South American localized mining issues that, are brought to bear when you have concerns on water, on land and so forth. So, it's, billions of dollars of investment can be changed by how local people, perceive a project. That's going to make it imperative that the companies doing these projects are successful with showing local people that they've got a good project. And if they don't have a good project, well, there's no use being there. They've got to have proper procedures and understanding of what they're doing.
I'm sure India is very concerned about environmental impact. If you remember several years ago, Bhopal, India, tens of thousands of people were gassed by a chemical plant that had an explosion and fire. Compensation was very little, and those people are still suffering today. So they might be a little nervous about having major industrial complexes built in or around their towns.
Well, in a country that's had mining for thousands of years, they do have a long memory and many relics around the landscape showing them that mining, when it's not done properly, can have a long-lasting negative legacy. It's a country that celebrates gold. We know that's at the heart of the culture. You go to India and you see the shops. They festoon the temples with gold. That gold all has been mined, of course, and there's an affinity with that mineral, with that metal, but there's also the problems of living in a very densely crowded country where, even though they do have something like 85 identified minerals and mines that are mineable, about 85 different minerals and metals that are mineable in the country, they have a reticence about just simply going in there and mining all over the place because of this density issue.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after the break.
I'm Bill McWilliam, president of Cascadero Copper, CCD on the TSX Venture Exchange. Cesium is one of the world's rarest metals with a growing industrial demand. Drilling is underway on our Tehran property in Argentina to prove up a cesium resource. Cascadero's patent-pending leach process has the potential to make Cascadero the lowest cost supplier of cesium in the world. Visit our website, cascadero.com, or phone us at 604-924-5504.
GEM International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. GEM International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Stewart Muir. Stewart, we were mentioning gold, very important to India. If they can produce more domestically, would that help them a lot because they have such a premium on imported gold?
Well, yes, and I think that's also true of any other commodity that you could name in terms of India's future. Right now, they're projecting that by 2025, the domestic economy of India will reach, wait for it, $4 trillion a year. That will be the economic turnover in the economy. And that's because of the growing middle class of India and the fact that the consumers of the country are going to be able to afford more things that have to be made with material inputs. And this all speaks to how is it produced.
Yes, and people wonder why India is so involved with call centers and other high-tech things. They have 20 million people a year who graduate from university.
And the message that I'm taking to India is exactly at the heart of that, because what they're thinking is, how can India, which doesn't have a modern history in mining the way Canada does, how can it benefit from the knowledge that Canada has, but also do it India's way? And so the thing it points to is exactly that, Jim. It's the fact that they are in some of their centers. You think of Mumbai as one of those. They have the leadership, they have the computational skills, the ability to examine big data and drive meaning from it. That's exactly what the mining industry in Canada is talking about. Just recently at PDAC in Toronto, so many people were talking about that. How do you disrupt conventional ways? Right now I heard this amazing figure that there is, if you look back at all the data, the geophysics that has been gathered in mining, there is something like $19 trillion worth of value in data that's already been collected that hasn't been subjected to modern data mining procedures. So knowledge about where these ore bodies lie and how to get at them is locked up in decades and decades of data. So if we have computer experts that can come in, figure out how you crunch that, and then turn it into something useful, that's going to be the equivalent of doing new exploration.
Yes, I recall they discovered gold in Northern Ireland because geophysicists noticed from these aerial photographs that a river suddenly changed direction, and he says it only does that if the substrate is too hard to go through with the water, so it'll move. They found quartz, and usually where you find quartz, you find gold, and they did.
Looking at those maps is part science and part art. It's almost poetry, the information that's embedded into a map, and so to interpret that, you need to have people who are creative, but also can use these powerful tools of data processing. That's why I find geophysics such an exciting field. And when you talk to geologists, they're always I find with me, maybe I'm just a little slow on the uptake, but they just seem to run ahead of you. They're so excited about the next challenge. How are they going to crunch this data? How are they going to make a new discovery? And, it makes mining so exciting when you have these minds come together.
We'll have more with Stewart Muir right after this.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Keep informed. Receive our weekly recap of thought-provoking articles, podcasts, and radio delivered to your inbox for free. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage, HowStreet.com. Welcome back. We're chatting with Stewart Muir. Stewart, looking at the federal budget in Canada, what did you see? Is there anything good for mining there?
Well, I think the big budget for natural resources was really the 2016 budget, and that's when there was about $1 billion investment announced to drive innovation in natural resource sectors. Now, that's going to be an ongoing story as that rolls out. When you look at the new budget 2017, there's a little less emphasis there, not because the federal government's not interested in these things, it's because the focus is moving on. Now I think it's more about transportation, and we've seen the Mining Association of Canada come out. What they're saying is that they welcome the announcement of a Canada Infrastructure Bank that's going to, let's hope, look at where the gaps are in transportation infrastructure, especially in the more remote areas of the country, including the north. So there's, as we know, challenges to making investments in areas that you can't get to or can't get commodities out of easily. And so it's really good news, as long as the next steps take place and we got the work done. And that's the only caveat we had from the Mining Association. This is good news for the future of investment.
Yes, they've only started work on something like 10% of the projects they said that they would fund. Is there concern that they're going to drag their feet and they won't really get it done? They'll announce a lot of money but not spend it.
Yes, there is. And, it's true of anything in government. You hear the announcement and often you look into it, and whether it's, hospitals or schools or anything government does, you'll often look into the details of these, and you'll see that it's contingent on some other level of government, maybe a provincial, territorial, or municipal one, also ponying up cash in order to get that initial commitment from the feds flowing. So it can take years or never before you see these things happen. So, we shouldn't necessarily jump for joy at everything in a budget, but when you see something that is put in black and white in a budget document, it does show you that a number of minds have come together. Political decisions have been made to allow that to be in the document. So it is a good sign. And the thing that mining in Canada is really focused on right now is this zero waste mining, because when you're asking the question, how do we ensure that mining is sustainable and therefore long term and therefore able to attract capital and continue in job growth, the zero waste mining initiative from the Canada Mining Innovation Council is really important. And that's something that the mining industry has said, look, as we see the transformation of the mining sector, we see electric vehicles, they need lithium, they need copper in huge amounts. We've got to make sure we've got strategies that the public can understand, that the public supports. So zero waste is going to be a big part of it. And I know the Liberal government has been very supportive of that.
They announced a $400 million innovation fund. Is the mining industry going to take advantage of that?
Yes. And the evidence of that I have is there is so much activity in mining right now from, some of the academic groups that are coming out of mining, some of the associations that are looking at innovation. They're tuned into this. They need to go deeper underground, especially in the east, into these Sudbury mines around there. Boy, they go down, 5 times deeper than the CN Tower in Toronto stands high. These are extreme conditions. They have to have ability to protect people down there. They have to have the capital to drill down those distances. So that's part of what's driving it. And if we get money flowing into some of these groups that do the research, then I think it will enhance the other thing we were talking about, which is how we export our know-how to the rest of the world.
Was there relief in the mining industry that they didn't boost the capital gains tax?
Well, it's always that thing in a budget where, seeing the one-year renewal of the mineral exploration tax credit is good news. So, and we saw that, provincially. Just about every budget everywhere, the mining industry is looking at something of that kind that they want to see continuing, because those who do any investing in mining realize that unless you have support of this type, then the money can't flow.
How important are the junior markets for the mining industry in Canada?
It's easy to sometimes set those apart from the major established players that are already doing mining. But the thing is that all the major companies depend on the archipelago of juniors to provide the future of mining. So it's fundamentally important. Every mine has a mine life. It will, at some point, be shuttered, and they'll be on to the next mine. All of that must come from junior exploration and investment.
Stewart, good luck with your trip to India.
Thank you, Jim.
My guest has been Stewart Muir, Executive Director of the Resource Works Society. His website, resourceworks.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our very popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Questions for the show, including questions for Stewart, can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.